This episode of the Tome Show is brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you for being patrons at patreon.com/The Tome Show. Welcome to the Tome, a D&D news, reviews, and interviews show, and I'm your Tome host, Jeff Greiner. And in this episode number 401, we're going to be either a lion person or a swarm of scarabs as we look at the 2024-25 version of the Monster Manual in part 21 of the series. Joining us for this episode is the ancient lich of the Tome Show. Brandis Stoddard comes to us from Dimension 20, Worlds Beyond Number, and other things, as well as being a Tome Show regular and an ancient undying spellcaster.
And I can now hasten to point out the junior member of today's recording team.
Okay, sure. But and you know what? That works, because also on the team tonight is the Lamia of the Tome Show from Gnome Stew. What do I know, JR? The podcast They Go With Advantage. Jared Rascher is said to have made a bargain with Graz way back before Brandis became a lich. See? I'd still made you the junior.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I tied it all in there. I haven't eaten children in a long time, actually.
Good.
Jeff ain't lying, but he might be scarab.
Perfect. So we are talking about the latest Monster Manual. D&D 5e got an update in 2024, and we are doing a monster-by-monster dive into this book. To get us started, it's disclosure time. Jared purchased the book, and the rest of us got review copies. We are 21 episodes into our conversation about the new Monster Manual. We have gotten to the elves. So we've only got a handful of creatures in the elves. Let's see how far we can get today. We start with the Lamia. I think is how I've always pronounced it. They are usually depicted as, imagine a centaur, but instead of the lower half of a horse, it's the lower half of a lion. And the upper half of a person. Said to have made an ancient bargain with Grazd. And all of that is true, except for the 4th edition version, which was a fey creature that was made up of a swarm of scarabs.
And all of those things just keep drifting further from like the original Greek myth, which was basically Hera got mad at one of the people Zeus was interested in and turned her into something that ate children after killing her children. So...
Yeah, I will say that, like, anytime the Greek gods turn someone into something, the destination creature being a fae fits pretty well in really a lot of cases. Assuming it's a creature and not a tree, which is also pretty common. A lot of trees come from pissing off the gods.
Although that brings up a good point that we went from the Lamia being a monstrosity in the 2014 rules to it being a fiend now in the 5.5 rules.
Yeah. And, bargain with Grazd, become a fiend. That seems fair. And I do, in the broad, agree with, like, shuffling the more sentient things out of monstrosity where possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm going to kind of give him that one. I think that's not a terrible direction.
Largely, we've been pretty critical of the random type switches that they've done, because many of them seem to have been done in order to nerf the PCs.
That's right.
Because there's not much other reasonable reason for it to have happened. But I don't disagree. This one seems to make sense.
Yeah.
There were a ton of like humanoid plus something else that fell into monstrosity a lot of times, which I don't understand why. Like, for example, like Brandis was saying, so many of them would have fit into Fae.
Yeah, for real.
Like centaurs.
Well, and like anything that sort of scans as a talking animal, if you're going to move it out of beast, Fae is right there, guys. It's right there. Mm-hmm. Like, let's just go ahead and talk about Oz is fairyland 1-to-1. But my wife Rabbit played a Lamia PC in a Planescape game that our friend Colin ran for a while. She was playing a Lamia monk, and so we actually had a Lamia miniature that was awesome. I think it's broken now, but it was awesome.
Was this in third?
This is in fifth.
Really? Okay.
Colin just built PC stats for being a Lamia. It was just sort of a astral ship of weirdos kind of story. Very much sort of riding the line between Spelljammer and Planescape, which, I mean, Jared, it's okay. I'm sorry you couldn't have played, but it was an in-person game in Georgia, right? Otherwise, you would have been there. But I don't know, it was a really good time. And so that's sort of my main contact with Lamias as a thing. I much like Jackalwares, and for sort of very much the same reasons, if you look at the art, I don't find a lot of reasons to need these guys, right? I don't run a lot of desert content, and these guys are pretty desert linked in the edition over edition art for them, right?
Here's the thing. In the third edition days, I ran and played a lot of Al-Qadim. And I think the only time I've actually used the Lamia was in fourth edition when they were something different.
Yeah. Well, where they were just the junior version of the worm that walks. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So, Lamias. We've got significantly less lore, as is
what a shock.
Do they more or less function similarly, though?
Well, they pick up 10 feet of speed, which, okay, lion body, that seems fair.
They lose a bunch of spellcasting.
Yeah, they've shed some spell casting, though it could be a lot worse. What they've lost in spell casting, and I appreciate the specific notes on Disguise Self. Maybe I'm sleeping on them. Maybe this is something I should have been using for years. But I think that also CR4 is pitched a little low for where they fit in my imagination. I kind of want them to be more of a threat. I'd kind of like to see a CR10-ish, 12-ish Lamia as the big one of a Lamia group. You know what I mean?
And it could stand to have a Lamia chief or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. In previous editions, there were the Lamia matriarchs, which instead of having the lion lower body, they had a serpent lower body, which gets confusing with Yanti, but whatever. And those are the higher CR version of them, but that isn't what they did here.
That's also a weird aesthetic. So everybody, like, you rule over a bunch of lion people and you're a snake person? Like, what? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Overall, their intoxicating touch has changed to a corrupting touch, but ultimately they are a utility caster with some influence control nonsense, and then a bunch of melee, right? So intoxicating touch used to give you disadvantage on wisdom saves and ability checks, so that major image and charm person would stick, and suggestion.
And yes.
Right? Sure. Yeah. But like by the time they're tossing out Geese, like the encounter has changed. It's no longer a combat encounter if you're casting that, I feel. Right? It's more like you have lost and they're now getting something out of you.
It is remarkable that they are CR4 creatures casting 5th level spells.
Yep.
Well, a 5th level spell.
Yep. Not quite as extreme as Pixies throwing Confusion. The famously game-breaking conjure woodland creatures or whatever it was that can give you a whole mess of Fae that could be pixies that would cast confusion on Strahd.
Yeah.
But I digress. But
I only had a
now,
PC do it once because they knew that if they did it more than once, it'd be pushing their luck.
yeah. Corrupting touch now does psychic damage and applies charmed and poisoned. So it's not so much a multi-step solution,
Right.
which is good because I need to land a spell attack so that you have disadvantage on your saving throw
Mhm.
is just doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is much easier to run.
Much easier to run.
I don't love that they've lost some of their spellcasting ability. You know, the mirror image and the suggestion and that kind of stuff all fits with them thematically, but they lost the suggestion. They picked up the infinite charm ability with that corrupting touch. So I can give up that. You know, it feels very desert creature creating a mirage, harder to hit, sort of mirror image thing, thematically appropriate.
Yep.
So I miss that one in particular. The rest of them all kind of still work.
Their claws now deal psychic damage in addition to slashing, as opposed to doing sort of a lot of slashing damage before. And then they also made a dagger attack that did almost nothing and was kind of, but why?
Why does it do psychic damage? They really like in the 2024 Monster Manual to give damage kickers.
They do. They do.
But
And
sometimes
there's
that
not
doesn't
always a
sometimes
clear
that doesn't
story
make,
at all.
yeah, sometimes that
Well-
doesn't make story sense. It's just mechanical balance.
Well, hang on. Let's be a little bit fair. Their claws deal psychic damage because it's a small portion of the corrupting touch that also deals psychic damage.
Oh.
There's actually a pretty straight line there to me.
I mean,
And
I can get there, but I had to get there.
well, I was
Sure.
going to say, I think there's also that whole through line of the concept of Lamia is I trick you into some place and then, you know, kill you and eat you or whatever because you are compromised mentally. So doing psychic damage plays into that.
Then the D6 table of Lamia Pacts is very much about how it uses its Geas spell, right? That's what we are getting out of that D6 table.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It is, although that's not obvious until I have to sit there and think about it for a minute.
yeah, I mean, it talks about they use magical illusions and enchantments. Well, they don't have that many enchantments.
Right.
Pretty much the one.
Mm.
But you still got to do a little bit of digging to figure that out.
I guess.
It
That one
It-
doesn't feel too bad to me.
it wouldn't have been out of line for them to say, here's a random table of things that it would bargain for, including using its Gia spell. You know, just to make it clear that that's what it's trying, what the purpose is.
You're fitting that on the boldface line next to 1d6?
No,
I think
in,
you
the,
might
in, the,
not be doing that.
in the sentence, in the last sentence of the paragraph there, where they talk about
Sure.
what the table is. It's also interesting to me that, I guess it is, okay, there's two labels on this table. I guess there's two labels on all the tables. It's Lamia Pax and the Llama compels the bargainer too, but so I got there too. Okay. Anyway, Lamias.
I will also say they do the thing that I like in a lot of things, especially when it's a creature that can jump. Bonus action leap. They can spend 10 feet of movement to jump 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. It's a lot simpler than what certain creatures had for their jump because it almost always referenced the jump rules and got you going, wait, what? How does this work? So I like that a lot of these jumpy things have bonus actions that just do it now.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
pretty good. So
Anything
yeah,
else on
the
Lamias?
stats are streamlined, but still telling largely the same story with a much better action economy.
I'm not like disappointed with what they lost because, at least to me, there is kind of that weird thing where, Lamia matriarchs used to have more spellcasting, and then the regular Lamias were just sort of the illusion and eat you. So it is weird that, I'm not as broken up that they don't have as much spellcasting, because at least in my mind, there's supposed to be another version of them that has more of that stuff to it.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line they didn't reintroduce those. For the record, the reason that there are Serpentine Lamia and Lion Body Lamias is because different legends either said she had the lower body of a lion or the lower body of a serpent.
So it was from back, and a call back to when they were actually sticking closer to the mythology.
They got to cover all their bases.
I'm sure somebody read a different story after they put the first one in the Monster Manual and said, we can make another one out of this. But I will give them credit. Lamia are one of the Greek mythological creatures that wasn't just, this is Lamia, because apparently that did kind of turn into, there was a class of illusion creatures that would lure people into the wilderness and eat them, called Lamia, based on the original woman that was cursed by Hera. So, this is actually a plural monster, even though it started off as a singular monster.
Fair enough.
Are we ready to move on to larvas?
Yeah, let's do it.
Or larvae. I pluralized it wrong. Okay, so the next thing on our list is larvae. Larvae are the souls of bad people condemned to the lower planes turn into larvae. Unless they turn into other things like the next creature we'll talk about, the Lemur, or whatever the other version of that.
Right. This is the entry level intern fiend stuff. Right. You gotta really start at the bottom of a height chart.
Which is tricky because that's what Lemurs are too. They're entry level specifically for devils.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm very confused that larvae are listed as medium size. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, that's really well, and that was the other thing I was going to say too. Is in a lot of previous editions, and I don't remember even looking them up in 2014. But larvae weren't really something that could attack. They were literally just this worm thing with a mutated human face on it.
Yeah, you just turned into a human-faced maggot. Yeah. Right.
Well, and they have an attack now, but it's still a +1 to attack and a D4 -1 damage. So it's not they're not really a threat.
No, but it is a different concept to think of this medium-sized thing that can even do any harm versus just this like pathetic worm thing that you that you initially just think is a big worm and then look at its face and go, "Whoa, what is this?"
Yeah. Because that's big. So that's basically what they look like. They look like, and they have looked like historically, big worms with humanish faces. I say humanish because we have lots of sentient species in D&D that have souls and can be corrupted and go to hell.
Definitely congratulations to the art here for selling some Hieronymus Bosch. This is the most Hieronymus Bosch we've seen in a minute.
And they are playing heavily into the fact that there are different species in D&D. Like we have an elf larvae, we have what I'm guessing is a tiefling larvae, or larvae, and now I'm pluralizing the ones that are singular. So they have gone out of their way to depict larvae of different species. It is weird that they're medium because they were little worms with humanoid faces, but
I was wondering where they were in 2014, and apparently they were in the DMG under the entry for Hades. Which they did apparently, even from the start, medium fiend with a bite attack. So it's weird, but it's been weird since 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, I think to me, thematically, that was kind of the difference, is that the larva was such a pathetic thing that, I mean, it's not even like a Dretch or a Lemure or anything
Dretch,
like
that's
that,
what I'm
where
looking
it's not even like this thing that is somewhat dangerous, whatever. It is just a pathetic, remnant of a terrible person.
Well, and now because they're medium sized and they do have a really pathetic attack, and they can swarm to be slightly less pathetic, it begs this story question. Why are some souls coming back as larvae and others are coming back as lemurs or dretches or whatever? If it was the story that larvae were the Yugoloth version of entry level fiends, fine, but I'm not sure what their purpose is, other than you need some sort of mewling, pathetic creatures for night hags to herd and whatever that are creepy and weird. But like in the cosmology, I don't know what happens to evil souls anymore because there's options.
Well, no, cosmologically, the thing with larvae is that is a neutral evil soul because they show up in Hades.
So it is the Lemure of Yugoloths.
Sort of, but I mean, they were never used as combatants, though. They were just like, oh, here's the pathetic people that showed up here.
Well, Yugoloths are mercenaries, so they're not fielding armies anyway.
I'm just going to pitch this real quick. Pit of old school, tiny down to maybe fine-sized larvae as a terrain hazard in Hades.
Sure.
Good times?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now it's weird when they are medium size and like still trying to get you. That's
what I'm saying.
Really messed up.
Even just from the thought process, because like the image of night hags harvesting them was having the bag that they just stuff full of larvae, which that's not going to work real well now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
All right, so
they're weak and they're not going to come up much anyway, so whatever.
Yeah. So we have 2 stat blocks of them.
Yes.
Right? One of them is CR0, so limited on the threat front, yes. Its bite does an average of 1 point of damage.
Yes.
So the medium-sized thing makes it so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. Mm-hmm. Needs to be smaller. I'm sticking with that. Then the swarm of larvae is CR1. It's fine for CR1, I guess. Has a pretty standard set of resistances and immunities for swarm situations. And its bite does necrotic damage, and it loses a little bit of average damage once the swarm is bloodied, which at 22 hit points happens fast.
Sure.
Thematically, though, that kind of breaks my brain, too, though, because a lot of swarms are tiny things that end up being like a medium or large swarm. No. This is a large swarm of medium creatures, so it's like, what, 4?
Yeah, 4 or 5 of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that...
It's 4 or 5 dude-size maggots, like, pressed together into one space, just like... That's so gross. I picture it like 4 people in flesh-colored sleeping bags.
Yep. It's about right. So anyway, shall we move on to lemures, which are not as hard to wrap our head around?
If not, especially more dignified as monsters.
So lemures are the entry-level lawful evil devil things. So when your lawful evil pathetic soul dies and goes to hell, the first thing it will be, in most cases, is a lemure, which is this creature that looks like it's made out of like melted or melting flesh. Now these are medium. They've always been medium. That's fine. And they're also weak. They're CR 0, but we do get a swarm version, which again has a similar issue in that like they're medium and then the swarm is large, so it's like 5 guys or five lemures.
I have run into a swarm of guys at 5 guys that could maybe be lemures. Like if you get too involved in the sort of meat processing part of it, never mind, too much. But I'm picturing something a lot closer to a gibbering mouther, right? Like they've got this sort of tarry thing that connects them into one-ish creature.
Oh.
It does say under the lemures, or when lemures compress into a single mass. So that one, gross, but also they explain it a little bit better.
I find it interesting that
absolutely revolting.
I find it interesting that lemures, as lowly and weak as they are, have the hellish restoration feature.
That is weird.
Yeah.
That when they die, they don't know. They come back.
I think it's an impossibility of escaping punishment situation there.
Well, and it's the hells don't have to worry about throwing their pathetic shock troopers to certain death because they'll just reform and wander out of the river Styx or whatever 1d10 days later.
But I mean the concept before though was always the everything that was destroyed outside the hells that was the devil reforms in hell. It's just whether or not it's the same thing.
Right.
Like if you are a pit fiend and you got destroyed and you didn't get to reform as a pit fiend, you started all over again.
Well, and this hellish restoration works a little bit differently than historically, right? Historically, if I kill a pit fiend in the Forgotten Realms, it's restored back in hell and can't come back to the material world until for 100 years or whatever. But that's the opposite of the lemure. They only reform if they die in hell. If you summon them to the normal world and then kill them, they're actually just dead.
And actually, they're very bad to send into your planar battlegrounds outside of hell, like in Acheron or whatever, where you're clashing with demons because you're just losing a bunch of those souls. Then,
I mean, the great thing about humanity is that they're always making more bad people,
especially when we have a relatively infinite number of worlds out there that are populated. And
yeah.
Well, and it was all it. So the fact that it works differently, that they only restore when they die in the hells. I like the explanation of that is because they can't escape punishment, right? I can buy into that, but it's weird that it has the same name for type of trait as the more powerful fiends, I believe.
What's interesting is the 2014 version was Hellish Rejuvenation, back when that wasn't in all of their stat blocks, that did the same thing. Because, like Brandis was saying, it was that reinforcing that, they're not getting out of this. Even if you, there's no further way to fall.
Right.
I mean, there's the fact that a bless spell or sprinkling with holy water gets you out of it is
which means you've got to have some cleric to come and absolve you, right?
It's a extremely specific Abrahamic faith note, right? I've been to many baptisms. That's what I'm saying.
So, how have the lemure changed over the years?
I mean, the devil sight trait moved into senses, right? It's a parenthetical in senses now, but they still fist you for. They don't fist you anymore. They vile slime you now. It's probably better.
Yes.
It's probably better.
That's way better.
Maybe I should not phrase things that way, but when that's a verb on the page, I don't know what to do. But like, there's not a lot of change because there's not a lot to change. Like we're moving numbers around within CR0.
Yeah,
not 1/8. 1/8 is above this. 1/8 is too strong. We got to tone it down. Tone it down.
I do wonder though. It's kind of weird to think because their armor class goes up, their hit points go down, but I'm not sure either of those matters for a CR0.
Right.
No, not so much.
But we do get the Swarm
it's
version.
possible for them to not die in one hit. It's possible.
But the Swarm version is new. We didn't have a Swarm version in 2014.
That's true. Yeah. And the Swarm version, does all the same stuff now while sliming you twice. And the damage
and
is...
more hit points.
And they have more hit points. But like CR3, we're talking about damage that's okay. Right?
Now, explain to me why a swarm of lemures is quicker to act than an individual lemure. Why is their initiative not a point better?
Just it's regression to the mean from having a bunch of like they're great at cooperating, Jeff. They're lawful evil.
They are
cooperating.
devils, yeah.
They're learning how to work together.
I mean, it's playing a really excessive game of three-legged race with several too many people.
I suspect it's more of a because that's how the math works in monster design, and shut up about your story.
Well, like with decks, they could have kept the decks at 5 if they'd wanted, right? It's just that they didn't want to.
Because the math wouldn't have worked well for the higher CR.
No, it would have worked fine. Like the decks, the CR math doesn't care about the decks. It just doesn't. But
all their physical stats are increased.
Sure.
I can't imagine there's a reason for that other than it makes the math work better for the CR.
Well, if their multiple things ooze together, it makes sense that their strength and constitution would be higher.
Yeah.
And that
on the other hand, they get
lower.
They do get more wise as they merge together too.
They're learning to see from multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
One of those 5 dudes is going, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't do this.
I've always wondered how does a lemure prove themselves being as lowly and pathetic as they are in order to someday get promoted to being an imp?
I mean, in all honesty, there is something interesting that is not specifically called out in the story that is told by their stats, which is if you look back at the larva has an intelligence of 6, and it understands common plus 1 of their language, but it can't speak. The lemure has an intelligence of
1.
Of 1, and it only understands infernal. And I believe in some, especially like in Planescape, that was basically once we have a soul, we are rebuilding it. There's nothing left of you.
Right.
You belong to the hells now. So they are whatever the devils have remade them into.
Mm-hmm. I imagine lemures don't prove themselves and get promoted into an imp. You just have a higher devil that needs an imp, and there's a lemure nearby.
Yeah.
So it's just whoever's close by.
waiting for the raw material to get processed.
So I like the idea of the swarm of lemures. That's oftentimes how they're used anyway, is that you just encounter a pit full of them, and so it makes sense to have the stat block for that. It makes it more likely that if you just throw a giant fireball onto the pit of lemures, that you don't just wipe them all out, because the swarm has more hit points.
But I would absolutely introduce them into the scene as not being merged yet, and as soon as initiative gets rolled, that's
Squish them
when
together.
all of them start like oozing into each other.
Yeah, that's a disgusting and kind of cool idea.
Oh, slime Voltron.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I'll form the head and maybe the other extreme part too, because it doesn't have to be anywhere near.
Gross.
should we move on to liches?
Sure.
Come on,
It's
my
funny when
liches.
liches are less disgusting than what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So for people who don't
a
know,
bunch of human centipedes. I mean, maggots.
for people who don't know, liches are spellcasters who decided to defy death by conducting vile rituals to turn themselves into an undead, but without giving up all of their magical power. In order to maintain themselves, they consume souls, and they store their own soul in a spirit jar. Former editions called a phylactery, before people realized where the term came from and that was problematic. And so that allows them to come back over and over again. You can kill them, but if you don't destroy the spirit jar that has their soul in it, they just reform later and keep coming back. And that's liches.
Yep, and they have always been some pretty top end bad guys.
Yeah.
Certainly, they're main villains in a lot of early adventures. Looking at you, Tomb of Horrors. Demi-Lich. I know. Don't hate me.
Demi-Lich.
I was going to say, these have been in the game from day one. It's what Vecna was. I mean...
Yeah. It's what Vecna was. It's what Zaz-Tam is. It's a Sararak again, depending on which version of a Sararak you're looking at.
It's sort of what Fistandantilus would have become if time wasn't weird and he actually merged with Raceland before he became a Demi-Lich.
Sure.
Well, and Jared, your main dude, Larlock, right?
Yep. The poor forgotten Lich of the Forgotten Realms.
Mm-hmm. Yep. First of several forgotten things, yeah.
So liches are cool. And they're badass. CR 21 spellcasting undead wizards.
Yep. I really like the D8 table of spirit jars.
Yep.
Like people being a little creative about what the spirit jar is and the thing you have to destroy to, get rid of the villain is a good time to me, as anyone who plays LARP knows now.
It feels like, I haven't counted, but it feels like the spellcasting list is shorter, but it could just be because it's not broken down by level anymore. Like their spellcasting stat block in 2014 is like, here's how many slots they have of this level, and they're built like a wizard.
Yeah, the 18th level wizards, right?
Whereas 2024, they've built them up to function more like most other monster stat blocks. Here's the spells they can do once per day. Here's the spells they can do twice per day, etc.
Right. It is a bit unfortunate that they don't have any upcasting except where upcasting is built in.
Yes.
And that's about just getting the combat mass to be where you want it to be. But I do also, it does make me sad because it takes away some of the tactical spell dueling that can be a lot of fun. It's, the place where D&D overlaps a little bit with WotC's other game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that said, that change has added less flexibility in terms of being able to upcast and do all those other things. However, the things that they have automatically upcast are Fireball and Lightning Bolt that they're now casting at will. So they're casting 5th level spells at will.
Yeah.
The other rather nasty thing is that Counterspell and Shield are reactions, and they are not limited to a certain number of times.
Yeah. It's real bad. it's a whole problem.
Liches can
But
now
like,
infinitely counterspell.
well, no, they don't get
They only
infinite
have one
numbers of
reaction.
reactions, just one per
There's
round.
still an infinite number of them.
No, there's a limited number of rounds in the day, Jeff.
Yes, but there's an infinite number of
there's-
days.
And there's about 3 rounds in most fights. So
No, and that's
But-
where I think this stat block works, and why we've seen this other places as well, because they recognize, sure, giving them this complex wizard-like progression of spells makes sense for what they are, but this style of stat block for their spells is just going to be more realistic for how combats actually usually work.
And I think you can do it either way, but when they just had spell slots like a wizard of that level, I think it was a little more intuitive to say, okay, if I'm going to make a difference between this lich and this lich,
Yeah.
I can just swap out some of these spells. You can still do that, but I do think it feels different when you do that with things that are at will and 2 per day and 1 per day versus this is just what they decided to prepare today.
I do like that they kept some iconic lich things that in their once a days. The power word kill and the finger of death are things that I've definitely done with liches before. They have.
Yep.
Did they have legendary actions before? Yes.
oh yeah.
Cast a cantrip, paralyzing touch, frightening gaze, and disrupt life. Now they have deathly teleport, disrupt life, and frightening gaze. So 2 of them are the same, and the other one is a teleport.
Yeah, and significantly the disrupt life is the main damaging one, and you can't just spam that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome to spam Deathly Teleport and splash some damage around, but Disrupt Life you gotta be a little more choosy about.
I do like that they've more or less in this version gotten rid of extra like layer action sort of things, but built in cool buffs they get. Like, for example, liches in their layer get an extra use of a legendary action. And an extra use of legendary resistance. And I like that it's not every single creature has the exact same number of legendary resistance uses, so it's a little bit trickier for the players to predict. Like, oh, I'm just going to keep throwing this out till they use it 3 times, and then I can hit them with my real spells, because you don't actually know how many it is. They're not all the same anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just the thing about layer actions, I miss them as part of design, but also layer actions were fundamentally painted into a corner because there was no way to account for them in a damage budget, so they couldn't do very much, and that feels bad.
Yeah.
Right. So, if they're going to try to budget for them in the math, which is a bit of a fool's errand, then getting rid of them is better than it. They just are taking up the GM's mental energy, but not accomplishing much.
Yeah, I don't see them doing it, but it's something where it would probably be better to just design them as like active hazards that get an initiative slot with their own CR that you build into the budget of the encounter.
Right. It's really hard to do that.
I know, but
because they need to then turn the layer into something that operates creaturishly, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because to a certain extent, there's a lot of things that are really neat if you balance it in D&D, but some of the storytelling of D&D will not work if everything is perfect math.
Dude, I agree with you completely.
Something like, an active hazard in a fight is one of those things that, yeah, it's going to be hard to do, but do we just never do it ever? Because that sounds sad.
I agree 110%. I am just talking about like their rationale.
No, I get
not
it.
What should be.
I get it. It's just my DM preference cannot be completely subsumed when I discuss this.
Yeah, like I think that encounter design should start from a place of, okay, I know whether I'm giving them something fair or not, but I can just go be unfair. It's fine. They're gonna be fine, or not. But they're high level characters. If things aren't fine, they're full of options. It's probably not a team of all fighters with no magic weapons. That's probably not a thing.
Right. So, how have lists changed besides the spellcasting list that we've talked about?
Holy crap! They are a lot more survivable now.
They more than doubled their hit points.
They survive much better. Yeah.
Well, they just flipped 2 digits in their hit points.
Yeah.
135 and 315. What's up?
They also increased their AC by 3, which is not insignificant.
Yeah.
20 is a harder AC to hit.
It really is. And let's see. Their multi-attack with Eldritch Burst and Paralyzing Touch. Well, it's a lot easier to use that than a lot of the attack cantrips they'd had before, right? And I do really like Deathly Teleport a lot.
Did you see that they got smarter?
Oh, funny.
They have 1 more point of intelligence now than they used to.
Yeah. I also am finally wising up in my old age, In
a way that they're not more wise. They're just more intelligent, and oddly, because it's not even in a way that changes the modifier.
Yeah.
It's a +5 in both of them, so I'm not sure why they're more intelligent, but they are.
The point of using odd numbers in monster stats at all is just to be able to say, this is a little bit better. Not mechanically differentiable, but this is a little bit better, right? A Lich is slightly superhuman on a pure intelligence level. Okay,
yeah, unless your PC is already up in epic territory, they cannot have a 21 intelligence.
I suppose.
Yeah.
So.
I will say too, I do like that multi-attack allows for the Eldritch Burst or the Paralyzing Touch, because Paralyzing Touch is a very iconic thing to Liches going back to when they first appeared in the game, but it was a terrible option for you to ever use with the 2014 Lich compared to anything else it can do.
Yeah, no joke. That is so true. Like they always needed some kind of like attack sequence that was spell and getting you with the bad touch.
I mean, then again, in a world where my Lich can just spam Lightning Bolt, I don't know why I'm paralyzing touching anyway.
Because paralyzed makes them fail their save against Lightning Bolt.
Sure.
Also, if you're a monster from a horror movie,
it doesn't make them fail it, because they paralyze them this round, and by the time the Lich can cast the Lightning Bolt, they're not paralyzed anymore.
Fair point. Yeah, that needs to last until the end of the Lich's next turn to do something. That's a shame. I guess it is there for their allies. They're leaders. They have leadership potential in this firm.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and... I think I'm just going to go ahead and keep spamming Lightning Bolt.
That joke is completely for anyone who reads Max Gladstone. I just need to throw that out. Max Gladstone rules.
Yeah, you lost me.
There's
the Craft series. It's amazing. It's really, really good. It's urban fantasy in a world where gods are commodified and all currency is little bits of soul. So the billionaire CEOs are deathly kings. They're liches. It's so good.
What's the first book called?
You should start with 3 Parts Dead. It's actually the 3rd book. in timeline, first in publication order. Very good start to the series.
Okay.
Jeff over there making notes for the book club.
We've got a book club episode that we're recording in a few weeks, and then we're going to need a new book. You can come and join us.
I have a list to give you, bud. I'm reading some really good stuff right now.
We always need help picking out the next book.
Wow. Just picking out one of Jeff's favorite things from the 5.5 monsters. If you kill a lich, it's got a component pouch.
No, I noticed.
Oh my goodness.
They have nothing else for you to loot, but they do have a component pouch.
Although I would picture liches being more implement caster than component pouch, but that's okay.
I mean, a rod of authority does seem very right there. Yeah. Or maybe some sort of special hand or eye.
Yeah, Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, there's not much in the lich that isn't an upgrade. And we already kind of touched on the whole thing with the spell casting, but that's kind of across the board, that you don't just give people the same casting progression as a character at a certain level at this point. So,
I mean, it does feel significant they've lost Dominate Monster.
yes,
that might really change the whole story of an encounter, potentially. Not that you couldn't have them cast Dominate Monster off camera, not with their stats, just to justify a creature being in the encounter.
Or having the party barbarian murder the rest of the party.
I'm not seeing the downside here, bud.
They gave up a lot of good spells. I'm going to miss not being able to cast Power Word Stun or Globe of Invulnerability and that kind of stuff. Did they still have Disintegrate? No, they lost Disintegrate too.
No.
Ouch.
That's
honestly, I like anything necromantic having blight. That's always a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like they could have done pretty good work in just here's an alternate lich spell list and another.
Yeah.
And did we mention another?
Yeah.
I was gonna say for
it's
me,
just a matter of
I would not.
You're gonna be getting the math right on that for a week because tuning spellcasting in damage calculations is miserable.
I don't hate this spell list, but it is. There are iconic things that I've had liches do that they can't do with this stat block.
Yeah, I do need to say that Power Word Kill actually does something to your party in the first round now.
Oh, does it?
So that's nice. Yeah. Power Word Kill got hugely improved in terms of just doing a job.
That said, if you're going to assume that your monsters or NPCs can do things outside of combat that aren't necessarily in the stat block, there is no point in giving them Animate Dead 2 times per day, because that is pointless in combat.
In combat, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and at CR 21, it's pointless out of combat too.
Yeah.
it justifies the skeleton servants or horde of undead that they've accumulated over the years.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, should we move on to one more L creature so we can finish off a whole letter tonight?
Let's do it.
All right, it's time to talk lizard folk. Lizard folk are humanoid lizard people that eat things.
Most things do.
I suppose. They do have different names. So we used to have lizard folk and lizard folk shaman. Now we have lizard folk geomancer and lizard folk sovereign.
Yeah. The fact that they've taken away a baseline CR 1/2 warrior guy, and you just need to assert lizard folkness onto
Yeah.
an extent CR 1/2 stat block is kind of weird.
Yeah,
It's kind of
because
weird.
I did skip one because they used to. I skipped the lizard folk king or queen, which is now the lizard folk sovereign. So yeah, so we just lost baseline lizard folk.
And so there's a table somewhere in the back of the monster manual that tells you what to do about that in an adventure. Let me find it.
Oh, I imagine that's going to be use the generic NPC stat blocks. Call them a bandit or a berserker or whatever, and
stat block conversions. Lizard folk use scout. Nailed it.
Scout, yeah.
But here's where that is kind of weird, because normally they do that for things that are humanoid species, but lizard folk aren't humanoid anymore. They're elementals,
They're elementals.
Which makes no sense whatsoever to me at all.
No, I
sense.
can't get there. That's a tough one.
How does that make sense? They have bonds.
Oh, I mean, it actually it calls that out in the flavor text. While many lizard folk are humanoids with varied skills, some forge powerful bonds with the elemental plane of Earth, granting them magical connections to the cycle of growth and rebirth.
So
that's
lizard folk are humanoids unless they become spellcasters. The more powerful lizard folk are earth benders.
Like, honestly, I think it would have been pretty cool if a lot of Warlock Pact situation engaged with changing your creature type, but they didn't ever sort of pursue that, and it's maybe strange they didn't.
And that makes more sense to me now. I don't know why the elemental plane of Earth and lizard. Like, I don't necessarily feel like that's the connection that I would normally make, but.
I agree with you, right? Like,
wait.
There are parts of the plane of elemental Earth that are muddy and swampy. Sure,
they can't hold their breath anymore. That's weird, because there are so many things. Like, lizard folk to me almost have as many tropes around them as things like orcs and hobgoblins and things like that. And if you don't have lizard folk living in swamps that can hide under the water and stuff like that, it just feels like I don't know what these are.
Sure, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yep,
that's real weird to me.
Now, other than the holding breath, there's not anything sort of iconic in the 2014 lizard folk stat block that says lizard folk, right? They've got some weapons and a bite attack. I suppose they won't have the bite attack if you're using the scout stat block, but it's not really that big of a deal.
But I would also say that, a story is an aggregate of things. So if you can hold your breath underwater and bite things, that kind of does sound like a crocodilian type humanoid.
Yeah.
I would venture to argue that it was, essentially left out, and does belong there on the strength of the lizard folk warden in Heroes of the Borderlands still having a hold breath trait.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know this is where a lot of things are just weird to me, because it feels like we're running in 5 different directions with a rubber band attached to us. Because we're still getting use these stats from 2014 where this thing is still a humanoid, but some things might reference that, but some things will completely not reference that. Mm-hmm. And like with the Kenku, humanoid Kenku from Mordenkainen's don't have a curse anymore, but now we're back to them having curses. So our Kenku always cursed, or some Kenku cursed and the other Kenku aren't. Like, I know I'm making this too broad, but also this particular entry is reminding me of everything that is all over the place.
Well, and like, I can, as an experienced GM, I can also say, well, I'll use the scout stat block or whatever NPC stat block I'm going to use for my standard lizard folk, and I'm just going to reskin one of those weapon attacks as a bite and call it good. And it would make sense given that the lizard folk sovereign still maintains a bite attack. The Geomancer doesn't, but I would imagine that's more of a function of it just doesn't make sense for them to ever use it because they have these other better attacks. So you can assume they have a bite, but they'll just never use it in combat, so why bother taking up space in the stat block for it? But it's not spelled out, which is unfortunate for the newer players. Any other?
I will say, like, I was just going to say, conceptually, I could understand if you want to rename the Lizard Folk Shaman to something else, but it still should feel like a druid, because that feels like that's what Lizard Folk
That's what they were doing before. They were entangling and plant growth and conjure animals and spike growth and heat metal, which are all very druidy things. And now it's like, I'm going to throw rocks at you.
Yep, Lizard Folk Druid would have been a pretty good fit here. Yeah.
And where does the Geomancer connection to the plane of Earth make it make sense when they have Speak with Plants as one of their spells?
I mean, plants are as earthy as it gets, right? No. They're not.
They're not as earthy as it gets.
Stone.
There are definitely earthier things than plants.
Speaking to the minerals that the plants are eating. That's what.
That one actually doesn't bother me. I have no trouble saying that elemental earth, like, because we have this very kind of constraining 4-element system, earth gets to include plants. That's how I see that.
I mean, that's a way to see it. Yep.
Well, it is the right way. So,
okay. Well, far be it from me to argue with the Lich.
Yeah. Just, I mean, where factual correctness is concerned.
Well, as I have heard Britton say many times on technical correctness is the best kind of correctness, right?
I mean, I too can quote The Simpsons.
Yeah. Is that where it came from?
Oh, yeah. You're technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Yeah.
It is interesting. They kept their swim speed, but they also got a burrow speed.
Yeah.
So
they're diggers now.
You know what really makes burrowing
go better? Because they're elementalists, so they have to dig. What did you say, Brandis?
I hear that being able to hold your breath makes burrowing go a lot better.
Yeah, I would think that too. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that there were never different types of lizard folk, because obviously you had the ones that lived in Anarok that were desert dwelling ones and everything, but the baseline standard lizard folk that you're thinking of is generally swampy people.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, what else has changed about it's hard to do a comparison between the Geomancer and the Shaman because they're just conceptually different things.
Yeah, I mean, their attack situation is very earth forward, as opposed to mixing up a bunch of melee, shape changing, and very just druid, sort of broadly druid flavored spellcasting. So I agree that's hard to look at as a 1-to-1.
Mm-hmm. Whereas the Lizardfolk Sovereign and the Lizardfolk King/Queen should be a relatively easy comparison, although it is significantly different because we've gone from Claw, Bite, Trident to Bite, Maul.
Yep.
This is where I'm going to sound like I'm completely off the rails, because conceptually I like the Lizardfolk Sovereign better than just the Lizard King or Queen, because the story of the Lizard King or Queen was always that you only get those when you have a Lizardfolk tribe that has been corrupted and worships demons. That's the only time you get those. That's why they're chaotic evil.
But outside of the Plane of Earth connection, a trident actually makes more sense for a semi-aquatic species. swinging a maul in the water is going to be tricky.
Yeah, it's just this problem that the tridents are really underpowered.
Well,
yeah.
Then that sounds like a problem that can be fixed. If only they had an opportunity when they rewrote the rules for the game.
And hasn't been for years.
Yeah. I mean, that was something we worked on a lot in Seas of Odari. I want to say it was my man Rich Howard, who was working with us really early in Vodari development, then had to kind of step out of the project. I think he was the one who just really was worked up about tridents being bad because he had a background in marine biology.
So, anything else that we want to talk about with the lizard folk changes? They're kind of a whole new creature, and there is a high likelihood that when I'm running lizard folk, I'm just going to use the old ones. Because they still work.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is also an interesting vision to me. Making it exclusive of the old vision is unfortunate.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't mind additive, but this isn't additive. This is replacing. Maybe someday exactly. I'll run the return to the Temple of Elemental Evil, and it'll be a bunch of lizard folk in the Earth Temple area or something. That'll fine, and then those stat blocks will be really cool. But if I want my swamp dwelling nature focused lizard folk, I got to go back to the old 2014 stat blocks.
Yeah, I mean the skewer trait is a little complicated to use well. Like they're trying to streamline basic use, but yeah.
I will say I can understand a drive to move lizard folk away from, hey, a big part of our culture is eating people. But I will say this too. I kind of liked the fact that they are a little bit alien, and it's that idea that they don't really hate you. They just don't think of other species as people unless other species make them think of them as people. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like a malice thing. It is more of a just, well, that's soft, fleshy things, and they don't have scales. How can they be people? I kind of like that as a story for them. So I don't know. It is challenging stories that may require nuance are scary in current design space.
Sure. All right. Are we going to wrap up the L's?
Fair enough.
Okay. Then I'm going to call this the end of the episode. I want to say thank you to our guests for this episode. Jared, if people want to find more Jared in their lives, where can they get it?
You can hear me with my friend Ange on our podcast, That Go With Advantage, where we talk about lots of D&D stuff every other week. And we also have a Patreon, so if you'd like to help us keep doing the show, you can do that too.
I'll subscribe, but only if you start pronouncing it Thaco.
Nope.
Oh, well, then there you go. All right.
Hold the line, buddy.
Also with us is Brandis. Thank you, Brandis, for being here. If people want more Brandis in their world, where can they get it?
Well, you can find me on the Tome Show Discord. You can find me on Blue Sky at brandisstoddard.bsky.social. My personal blog is brandisstoddard.com. My Patreon is Brandis Stoddard.
All right. And if you want to, I also want to thank everybody who supports the show by being patrons over at patreon.com/The Tome Show. Your support helps me pay the bills, and that helps make the show possible. Thanks go out to our higher tier supporters, Doug Plummer, Hyperlexic, Trash Panda, and Michael Harrison. For as little as $1 a month, you can also help me pay the bills. And maybe get a new mic soon, because Sam's been complaining about my audio quality. So thank you to all of our patrons for their support, and it makes those things possible. And very soon, very well, could be paying the bills that are going to help me bring streaming back if I can find the right service that's working right to do that. So if you want to contact the show, you can email thetomeshow@gmail.com. You can also find me on social media. I'm Squatch on all of the social medias. Tracy could not be here tonight because she had a migraine, but you can find her as Sarah Dark Magic on the various social medias and wish her well there. And that is episode 401, where we left lecherous leprechauns in the lurch as we discussed the Monster Manual for the 21st time. In this episode of
The Tome.
I'm on the wall.